if we take a look at what marketers are doing. So this was the winning ad that outperformed everything else, that became the core driver for the new campaign. If you want to be able to launch any campaign, whether it's an ad, whether it's a sales video, utilizing this principle that I'm about to show you, the old way versus new way, is one angle that's going to make all difference. Today, I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes to a coaching call that I recently did to show you how you can implement this in any campaign that you have. Let's begin. This is the old way, how things used to be done. And here's the new way, because people want new, fresh, exciting. What's the old way? The old way is you got to build one funnel to get leads, build another funnel to get low ticket, build another funnel to sell your core offer, build another high ticket funnel to sell your high ticket application. Old way, right? Which, by the way, it's not a thing I'm making up. It's literally how marketers, including myself, right, have been building funnels for a decade, right? You could use that old way that works, but it takes a lot more time, money, effort, energy, offers, resources. Or new way, one funnel to rule them all, right? One event that doubles down as a lead magnet, as a low ticket to sell your core offer, to sell your high ticket. Who we have next is Corinne Thomas. Corinne, welcome. What's the old way in your market? Go ahead and take it away.
Hello. This kite is disrupting the traditional kite experience because it flies without cells. The traditional kites, they have tubes with cells and they need to fill with air. And this makes a kite heavy because of the cells. The cells can break. A heavier kite is more difficult to fly, so you need more wind to fly it.
Okay, great. I love how you want to be able to make that contrast. So what we want to be able to do when it comes to old way is we want to be able to get people to picture how painful it is. So rather than just telling the features, okay, so like for example, like the old kites going off tubes, people, it might be hard to visualize why it's either inconvenient or ineffective or inefficient, right? So make it relevant where a person can be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what Green's talking about. So we'll be like, if you take a traditional kite, to get it up in the air, what do you typically need to do? You need to, first of all, bring it out and you need to run really fast while praying at the same time, hoping there's a strong wind, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? So the old way, we don't necessarily want to just focus on the features because people might not be able to relate to the features. We want to be able to relate to the thing that they can connect with. And the thing that would be able to connect with is like, oh yeah, I got to have strong wind. I got to run really fast in order for my kite to take off. And that's when you could create the contrast. What if, right, there was a better way to doing it? So next person we have is you, John. Okay, so let's begin the old way again. And then if we were to do a transition now with an added layer, John, how would that sound like?
Awesome, Peng Joon, thank you so much. So here it goes. In order to break through in the music industry today, you need to have a big audience on Spotify. That's how record labels decide who to sign. This is how promoters decide who to book for their live shows. Now, the old way, traditionally, independent music artists have been paying playlist promoters, meaning influencers on Spotify, to feature their music on their playlist. But there are a couple big problems with that. First, it's a slow process, right? You need to submit your music to the playlister and then they have to listen to it, review it, and then maybe days, maybe weeks later, you are getting featured or you got to pay big bucks in order to get accepted onto a playlist. It's also ineffective because playlists on Spotify are mainly attracting passive listeners. Those are folks who just listen to the music in the background. They're not there for your music, and that's why they're not becoming fans of yours on Spotify. And that makes this whole process really costly because when your track comes off the playlist, your listeners and streams on Spotify, they drop right back to zero because you didn't build that fan base. And that means you got to promote over and over and over again just for something to stick. But the good news is, there's this new promo technique that's disrupting this multi-million dollar music promo market, and it's challenging the way independent music artists can quickly grow their streams, listeners, and fans on Spotify.
Okay, this is brilliant. I think you followed and modeled everything to the T. I'm actually really amazed how you modeled this. That's amazing. Okay, guys, how many of you here can see like the difference in that before and the transition, right? Flawless, right? This is what I would like you guys to do, right? So the before, agitating the problem, right? But the problem that old way is that you notice, right? It takes long, it's expensive. You gotta be able to have the right connections, and even if you have the right connections, right, you're gonna take weeks, if not months. And even if that happens, you are going to get listeners that's not necessarily going to be your fans because they're not targeted, right? So it's like you are hitting it at every level, and you're showing them that, hey, even if you did this, it's time consuming. Even if you did that and you took the time, right? It's going to be expensive. And even if you did that, you need to know the right people. And even if you need the right people, you knew the right people and you had the time. And even if you did that, they're not going to be as qualified, right? So it's like, it really shows, right, the depth of it all and why. And now people are nodding in agreement, like, okay, I can see why the old way is really broken. Okay, great attempt, John. Steve, let's go with you next. Let's talk about the old way and then the transition. Go ahead.
Thank you, Peng, Joon. So the old way for a company to operate and manage an in-house team is through physical teams. This means everyone has to be coming to the office every day. They have to work together physically in order to operate and be able to function, in order to collaborate. Okay, as well as all team members that are hired must be trained personally, in person, by a manager or a trainer. Okay. And what is the problem with this? Well, with this traditional way, this old way, the companies have to deal with higher overhead costs, such as you have to rent an office, you have to get an office. Okay, all team members have to deal with longer daily travel times, commuting to office back and forth, and cost commuting back and forth, time away from families. Okay, just spending on the road, dealing with traffic jams. Okay, this also leads to lower team member job satisfaction and retention rate. Okay, meaning that the team members could be, okay, you know what, this is taking too long for me to get to work. I'm gonna find somewhere that's closer to me. Okay, and especially now after COVID, we now know that physical teams can be severely impacted and even disrupted by a situation such as pandemic, which can now be a recurring occurrence following down the road. So what is the solution to this challenge? Well, what if there's an alternative where a company does not have to rely on a physical in-person team in order to stay functional, in order to collaborate, in order to innovate, in order to work together, accomplish the mission that they set out to accomplish. Okay, and through the new way, which came out of the pandemic, which is pure virtual teams, remote teams, which is now everybody wants to work for a virtual, on a remote person. Everybody wants to work from home. Okay. And this new way would be able to enable all team members, okay, to be able to work anywhere they want. Okay, they could be working on the beach, they can relocate anywhere they want. They no longer have to stay in very expensive cities to be close to the office. Much higher job retention rate, much higher job satisfaction rate. Okay, much more time to spend with their families. Okay, company no longer needs to maintain a large office overhead and can apply that capital to other more effective means to deploy those capital.
Okay, let's pause here 1 second, Steve. So this is a great start, great attempt. One of the things that we can do to kind of polish this segment over here is we want to be able to show, because ultimately our target audience for a message like this would be a business that is looking to scale online with teams. All right. So what we want to be able to mention is to really focus. And I know you mentioned like the benefit to the business owner and why when the employer and team member can work from home, they have more time to themselves. They could be potentially happier, reduce their cost, and in turn reduce the cost of the company and all of that, right? So what we want to be able to do is just to tighten that piece up over here, which is when it comes to the before is, so for the longest time, the traditional way is physical in-person teams. But the problem is now that things are starting to go back to norm, people have gotten used to a specific way of living. People have gotten used to the fact that, hey, it's actually possible to work from home. I may not necessarily want to commute. And for the last 2 years, we kind of made it work. And right now, what if you could actually scale with a process that enables you to run everything remotely and virtually? And here's what happens on both sides of the equation. On your end, you no longer have overheads as high because you don't need that physical location. Therefore, you don't need rental for your office, together with the maintenance costs, together with all the costs associated with having something physical. While on the other hand, for the team, this is when also their happiness is higher. There's now less time required for a commute. But here's one thing, right? You still got to pose the problem of, but the question is, how do you build it up in such a way so that you know what's going on? There's trust while they are working from home. There's still transparency and accountability at the same time, right? So now, notice what we're doing over here. We are paving way for our offer. Okay, what we're essentially doing is old way, transition to the new way. Okay, and now what we want to be able to do is, so please write down this next thing. Okay, so please write down user-friendly proposition. Okay, so Steve, this is a great attempt or a script, and what we want to be able to do now is to think about how can we now move on to the second last part of it all, which is how can we have a user-friendly proposition, right? So what if there was a new way, a better way, a more effective way, a cleaner way, a faster way, a cheaper alternative? So this is where you want to be able to introduce your user-friendly proposition, right? What if you don't have to deal with these record label companies? What if you don't need to be able to build up that physical team now that things are reopening up, but still have the best of both worlds? Okay, here's how it works. Okay, so please write down, here's how it works. Right, so notice user-friendly proposition. Before I show you some examples, user-friendly proposition for me would be like, so the old way was value ladder, right? Ascend people from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What if there was a better way? Here's how the better way works. With virtual events, when you utilize this model, this acts as a way to help you get more leads, which replaces your lead magnet. It helps you replace your low ticket offer because that's your upsell within the funnel. It helps you sell your core offer together with your high ticket, so that it replaces those two funnels as well, because that's the offer you got to make at the event, right? So this is the user-friendly proposition. It's one funnel, one sales process that replaces the entire value ladder. Here's how it works, right? To show your audience, oh, I get it now. It's like, I can see why this thing is going to allow me to do things differently. And now you're also leading with education and value. And it's not just like another ad. It feels like there's something that I'm taking away from this. Well, I hope you enjoyed the behind the scenes to this coaching call. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below what your biggest takeaway is. And as always, be sure to smash the like button. It does help the channel out a little bit. And to subscribe to this channel if you want to be notified of future videos just like this one. Now, some of you asking me, how can I be part of this process? How can I ask you questions? How can I have you coach me or mentor me? We want to make sure that we are working with the people that's the right fit. You'll need to fill up a form. There's a link right below this video. Somebody on my team might give you a call to interview you to see if they're right fit for each other. And if you want to apply and see if you're a good fit, then all you need to do is click on this link in the description box below and my team will be in touch with you.